I think it is an important point. Look, we are a technology company, but I'm certainly not a technologist. And I think if you ever have an aspiration to be a mass market consumer service, you have to think of the whole marketplace. And I was going to say lowest common denominator, which would be an awful thing to say about my mum. But you know, if my mum can use our service, that's a good sign. And our service is basically making your mobile phone your bank. It's putting all of the functionality that you might want relating to your financial position on a mobile phone. So send me a text message with my balance every Monday morning, or allow me to check every now and then, has a payment gone through my account? And it sounds a really easy, obvious thing to do, but there's a fair bit of complexity behind the scenes to make it usable by my mum. For me, and I know everyone's got their own cliches about this stuff, there are 5 stages to building a business, any business in any marketplace. Phase 1, you've got a concept. You've got an idea that you should role play and sanity check until you're blue in the face. Your friends, your family, your mum, you know, your enemies, anyone that will listen to you, go and run the concept by them and listen to the criticism you get. Phase 2 is validation. You know, actually take that concept and create a proof of concept. You know, build the service if it's a bit of technology at a prototype level so you can demonstrate it to people. Or, you know, if it's a business process or a business idea, go and speak to a company about it and get a letter of intent. Get someone to validate that what you're designing is something that would be of use to them. Phase 3 then is obviously commercialize it. So in phase 2, we had to validate that the service was going to work. We had to build an application. We had to demonstrate to banks and operators what it might look like. Obviously, we had to demonstrate to our shareholders, Morse, and to Link what it might look like. And only from there, really, can you start to negotiate. If you look at the mountain we're trying to scale, okay, we've been unwavering in our strategy that we believe the mobile banking and payment space, very similar to payments of old, so if you think of card payments, will evolve to have 3 or 4 main players, a Visa, MasterCard, Amex, China Union Pay type environment. And we've said from the beginning, we would aspire to be one of those key players. So it's a massive, awesome challenge that we set ourselves. That said, I think we've been very good at setting achievable small milestones. So from day one, and that's the only way you can really fulfill a grand vision. You know, whatever Sergey and Larry say about, you know, their plans for Google, let's not kid ourselves, they wanted to be a search engine, and it's evolved from there. The simplicity of our idea is to connect up every bank and mobile phone operator in the world. To get there, you have to say, right, step 1, make ourselves appear big enough. Step 2, sign up your first joint venture with a payment processor. Step 3, sign up a bank. And you have to bite off, you know, small chunks of your journey, because otherwise, first sales environment I ever worked in, we used to have a bell, you know, where you ring the bell when someone sells something, and every day someone would sell an advert or something in a magazine, and you know, ring the bell, and there's that element of success, and it keeps you going. If you're on a journey like ours, if you didn't set the right milestones, you could go for 2 years without ever ringing a bell. Well, that's pretty disheartening to a group of individuals that get up early every morning to go to work. So I think for anyone that's watching this and anyone that's thinking of setting up a business, doesn't matter how grand the vision is, but break it down into little bits of puzzles. So the first thing I had to do was make us appear bigger than we were. And that's where, you know, interesting note for some of your members. We didn't go down the traditional fundraising route. If we'd raised VC money, it wouldn't have made any difference to the appearance of the company. It wouldn't matter if my balance sheet was 50 million quid. It's still 2 guys with a concept. So we went down the corporate venturing route, and we went around a number of big technology companies. And corporate venturing gets a very bad name. It's actually a great model if you get it right, where suddenly we were subsumed into a company called Morse, big technology reseller. And, you know, they're a 350 million turnover company at the time. They had 2,000 staff. They're a PLC, had a great chairman in Richard Lapthorne, had a great CEO in Duncan McIntyre. So really well respected, already provided a lot of IT services to the banks and mobile operators. And so even though we were a tiny part of the business, we could leverage, some would say abuse, I would say leverage their balance sheet and their brand. And suddenly you went to talk to Link or the banks or the operators as part of a big company. And again, if you're an entrepreneur and your business concept or idea is reliant on bigger companies taking it to market, think about, empathise with the company you're trying to sell to. What procurement boxes are they going to have to tick? Because you can guarantee no matter how much someone likes your idea, someone somewhere, a technical buyer, is going to sit there and say, have they got enough cash to last 5 years? You know, is it a well-backed business? Have they got a patent? Have they got contracts with some of our competitors? It's all that stuff you have to think about, because it doesn't matter how good a salesperson you are, there are technical buying processes that you can't avoid. We took the corporate venturing route. Morse were a brilliant parent to us. And there's this lovely policy, actually. It's something that I first heard in NatWest, Royal Bank of Scotland. It's a really clever policy of best parent. You know, we will only take a business on if we're a best parent for it. And so as an entrepreneur, you should always think, who's my best parent? Who's best to be looking after me at the moment? Is that a high net worth individual? Is it a VC? Is it a corporate venturing model? And Morse were a great parent for us. And then inevitably, we reached a stage where the teenager, I wouldn't say outgrew the parent, but was robust enough and resilient enough and had enough of its own life to go and sort of tread the path on its own. So we talked to the board, and Richard Lapthorne, the chairman, was hugely helpful and supportive, as was Duncan, the CEO. And we decided that it was the right time to separate the businesses, because we were still spending, and still are spending, a lot of R&D money, and Morse had their own journey to go on. So we organised the demerger, a tax-free demerger, which is basically where every share in Morse gets distributed as a share in Monitise too. So if you're a shareholder in Morse, it's great news because you get 1 for 1. So that way the shareholders were always protected from any potential upside. Has our AIM status been beneficial to us? Unquestionably. Because our global partners, you know, when you're signing a deal in Africa or India or America, there's a lovely sense of transparency about our business. You know, too many entrepreneurs hype their business. You know, if you're a private company, you're going to run out and say, I've got billions of users and, you know, we're only a day away from profitability and all this stuff. And, you know, people can never see the wood for the trees. The great thing about us is you can read it on the website. You know, we're a public company. All our numbers are out there. All of the facts relating to our business and our technology you can find out about. So there's great transparency. Does it add additional workload? Yeah, inevitably. You know, we have to fulfil our fiduciary responsibilities. We have to update the city regularly. We have a nomad. We have advisors. We have brokers and all that sort of stuff. But again, the ability to raise capital. We have a lot of shares in issue. We have some very supportive shareholders. And I quite like the idea that our users, a bit like a mutual, if you think about it, if someone uses the service that we offer through the bank, they can go and buy shares on the market. If they like the service and they think we're going to be successful, they can get access to our stock. Traditionally, we've been a company, I guess it's my DNA really, as much as anything else, that believes a small percentage of a big number is much better than 100% of nothing. And again, you know, anyone involved in your network, you've got to know when to dilute. The biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make is saying, I want to own the whole piece of the pie. We're smart enough to know what we don't know. And when we go into a new market, we do a joint venture more often than not. We put our own skin in the game because that shows that you really believe. But also we offer equity to our partners in the market. And because we're in the payment system world, you know, we're not going to go and build a new payment system. You imagine trying to build Link from the ground up again. So when we did a joint venture in America with Metavante, a fantastic company, $2.5 billion company, 5,000 staff, service 8,600 banks with core banking capability. You know, they need to feel really incentivized to make your system work in their marketplace. So joint ventures is a good model for us. Joint ventures get, again, bad press like corporate venturing. As long as when you set up a joint venture, you understand that it has to evolve into something else one day. Joint ventures never sustain forever. That's fine. And as long as you're open about it, you say, look, we'll both drive this business forward, or all of us if there's more than 2 investment partners, but one day this business is either going to be floated in its own right, one of us is going to take it over, one of us is going to have an opportunity to get out of it, then that's fine. And joint ventures have worked really well for us.